First of all, welcome to the first 90 days as a product manager by Vipin. And a very good morning to everyone. Hope you all are doing great. This is Shambhavi. I am a former senior product manager at Amazon and recently started Mentor Me Good to help people land their dream jobs in tech. We offer standalone coaching and boot camps from experts working in top tech companies. So do check us out at mentormegood.com. So now let's get started. First, I want to welcome and thank Vipin for putting this together and sharing his learning with all of us and everybody who has joined. So thank you and hope you get a ton of value from this, and feel free to add your comments and questions. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of the session. Over to you, Vipin.
Yeah, thanks, Sambhavi. And good morning, everyone. So it's very interesting topic, like first 90 days as a product manager. So we'll give a background, like, why this topic. But before I get into that, let me share my screen first. Okay, so before we get into this topic, let's have a quick intro from my side. Who am I and what is my background? So I started my career as a scientist with Bharat Electronics. So they have central research labs in Bangalore and Ghaziabad. I was part of Ghaziabad research lab and was developing the software for defense forces. I did that for close to 7.5 years. So built the software for warships and many projects in that area, primarily focusing on threat assessment and multi-series sensor tracking, where you have various kind of challenges with respect to the security of the country. After working for 7 years, I realized that to take a next leap in my career, I need to go for MBA. And in 2015, I joined IIM Calcutta 1-year MBA program, that's PGPX, recently renamed to MBAEX, and focused on marketing, strategy, product management, data analytics kind of courses. I was also a class representative during the program. From the campus, I got placed with Sasken Technologies Limited in Bangalore in a role of a portfolio manager. That's quite similar to a product manager role in a product company. And responsibilities lies with expanding the existing portfolio of services and the POCs, majorly like, we build some small components, then we take it to the customers and further expand on those POCs through the customer inputs, ultimately helping customer launching the products in the market. So role was like a strategy, business planning, portfolio growth. I worked majorly in 3 areas there. Started with the mobile devices, handheld devices, and then moved into the IoT. In IoT, I worked both on the embedded side of the world and cloud side there. 2019, then I moved to OpenText as a product manager for their IoT platform. Our focus, we were offering this PaaS as a service, and focus was on connected supply chain, connected manufacturing, and industrial IoT. I drove the roadmap for their intelligent edge gateway and integration with the other products, like they have B2B products in the space of procure to pay solutions. So we integrated IoT into those products so that you can leverage on the latest technologies and can offer better experience to the end customers. And on top of that, it's like the real-time insights available about the product, the quality of the product during the shipment from one place to another place. So that was pretty much in OpenText. It was a brief stint for just about a year. Then I got an opportunity with Amazon, and last year in May 2020, I joined Amazon as a senior product manager. Started with the finance operations team, worked there for 6 months. So I was product manager for their India business. So anything coming in the finance operations was something what I was driving. That includes your regulatory part of the world, where like government is mandating the e-invoicing or the TCS. The TCS is tax collection at source, etc. So how you incorporate those government regulations into your product. Secondly, that we were like it was a part of vendor payment system, where you have to more B2B payments for the customers of Amazon or the sellers, like your Voltas, LG, or your FMCG company, those directly sells to Amazon. After 6 months, I moved to a different team, that's capacity planning under customer service organizations. And here I look after the real-time workforce optimization, product and scheduling, a space that was like, both are integrated. So I started looking into that as well recently. So this is my journey from a defense scientist to a product manager. Um, if you divide the whole journey, it's like the pre-MBA, post-MBA, and how I transitioned into this role due by the virtue of my MBA and further learnings in the industry, maybe the domain expertise and the skills, whatever I built over a period. So moving next, so once when we start talking about the 90 days as a product manager, we will try to understand the product manager role first. Once we have the understanding of the role, then we will see that, what are the different stages in the first 90 days, what are the do's and don'ts. And last, we will talk about the key takeaways. So before we get into this 90 days window or the understanding the product manager role, that's why it's important. See, the actions what you take in the initial 3 months are, I would say that in any new job, they largely determines that will you succeed or fail. Some of you may have a disagreement over it, but it pretty largely sums up, right? And let's say if you are not able to build a momentum during the first 90 days, then task is pretty uphill. You have to really turn around the stones to get succeed in that role. And that's the reason this agenda and the topic, I like that this is pretty interesting one, because when you join a new company, you are not aware of the culture, you're not aware of the processes, you don't have a connections as such, like your network is not there. So when you are moving into a role, there can be two situations. Either you are moving into a role in the same company, either you are joining a totally new company. If you are into a new company, then task is more difficult because the culture itself you don't understand. But if you are moving in same company in a different role, then at least you understand the culture. You need to understand the product, the synergy between the teams, who holds what. So that is something what we will discuss, that how we can make some steps in the beginning that are going to help us in the longer run. So to start with a product manager as a role. So a product manager is the one who is supposed to work from strategy to the launch to the monetization. So strategy means like you have the long-term strategy, you have the short-term strategy. In Amazon term, we say 3YAP, 3-year plan. Then we have the OP1 and OP2, operational plan 1 and operational plan 2. Operational plan 1 is something 18-month roadmap from now, and operational plan 2 is a 12-month roadmap. Similarly, like when I was in OpenText, we used to have a 2-year plan, 1-year plan, and the quarterly roadmap. So in most of the B2B organizations, they typically have the quarterly releases, and accordingly, you have to plan your charter for the next 3 quarters. It's always like to be N+2 for us, so that engineering team is pretty much engaged. They know the roadmap, and they can start connecting the dots that to build something in N+2 quarters, what I need to do at the end of quarter. So that is part of the roadmap and the strategy. That is one part. Second is, let's say if you're launching a product come first time, so your strategy will also involve identification of a problem, validation of a problem. Then you go and talk to the potential customers. You do the opportunity sizing as well. Like this may looks like a problem to you, but what is the size of problem? Is it worth making a solution for that problem or not? So you go and you do the sizing. So like in my previous role in OpenText, the IoT domain, it was pretty niche area, new upcoming one. Then what kind of solutions we need to build? So whatever bet we are taking or whatever the investments you are going to make are based on some research. So you do those primary research, secondary research, read through the research reports, then try to analyze in your context. IoT as a market, if you look at, someone will say it's like $100 billion market, but are you going to change the complete market? So what is the total addressable market for you and serviceable market for you? You do all these things based on your analysis. You go and you try to identify the customers and synergies, and you do get into the real opportunity sizing. And we'll conclude that, like, my target is getting $1 billion revenue in, let's say, the 2 years. In the 1 year, I will get 500 million or something like that. Whatever the calculations you do, that is part of your opportunity sizing. Similarly, I talked about the research part. So you do the research for the competitive analysis as well through the research reports, that is one. Secondly, through the information available in the public domain. Then through the demos or attending different conferences, you will get to know that what competitors are building. From the roadmap, you derive the features. So you have a roadmap, let's say for a quarter or 2 quarters, then you will create an epics. From epics, you create those features or the user stories, and you further prioritize that to build something in next 4 months, what I need to do today and what I need to do tomorrow. So you prioritize your features to make a complete deliverable solution. From feature prioritization, it get into like system designing, UX design. So as a product manager, you work with the different teams like tech team or engineering team for the design. As a product manager, you are not supposed to write a code, but you need to understand the high level design. You go, you participate, you give the comments or feedback that is that problem, is the design solving your problem, is design scalable, it is reliable or not, what is the latency bringing in. So all these things as a product manager, you need to dive deep, question the engineering so that they are widen their horizon and building a right product. For UX design, you create those user journeys, work with the UX designers. And there's a difference between UX and UI, so that we will cover in some other session. But ultimately, you try to work and make a solution that is appealing to the end user and customer is not lost in the UI itself, that how to navigate from one place to another. As a product manager, you also work on the go-to-market part. When it's the go-to-market, like how will you launch, where all will you launch, what are the channels, sales channel, what are your marketing strategy. So you work with a product marketing team for that, give them right kind of input so that they can position in the market and create the buzz around your product. And last not the least is the kind of the monetizations, like how will you monetize your product. So these complete 9 blocks are pretty much summarizes very, very high level what a product manager do in a PM role in most of the organizations. So what happens, like it's not that it's pretty fixed kind of thing, like in every organization you need to do everything or you are supposed to do everything. If let's say you are in a startup where it's a series A funding or the series B funding, you are just testing your idea, building a small POC kind of thing. So those strategy part of the roadmap, that something comes from the founders, they have a vision about the product. As a product manager, you try to more implement that roadmap through the feature prioritization, doing some competitive analysis, working more on the execution part. Vis-a-vis, if you go to a company that's medium size or companies like Amazon or the Microsoft, you pretty much play with most of the blocks of what I talked about. Maybe it may not be like the monetization as such, because they might be have a different team working on the pricing, but you can always try to get engaged there and get some insights about that. In some companies, you have product marketing functions. There might be a chances like you have the product, those are more internal actually, and you don't need to have the marketing in place. Those is more like internal marketing. You go and send other launch emails to different stakeholders so that they are aware of what new is launched. So role is, I would say, is pretty flexible or pretty not fixed kind of role. One JD that fits all the companies from B2B to B2C to business PM to tech PM. The role varies a lot. And based on that role, expectations in the role also changes. Coming to the first 90 days, so we can divide this 90 days window into the 3 buckets. So first is the first 30 days where you try to focus on the learning. Then second part is like you build the relationship, you build the reputation with the team and stakeholders. And third one is the execute, where you get your hands dirty, go and start working on the real problems. So this process start like that onboarding one, right? So I would say that before the onboarding itself, like there is a phase that starts like the pre-joining period, and in the pre-joining period is like you get in touch with your reporting manager. So during the interviews, you might have asked details about the product, what kind of product you are going to work upon, what will be your role exactly, what are your the success criteria going to be in that role. And if you have not done this, pre-joining period is pretty important, where you get in touch with the reporting manager, start asking the questions about what you will be working on, and start building some knowledge around that. In some of the companies, like when I joined OpenText, they have this process where they will call a new joiner 2 or 3, like 3-4 weeks before the joining itself. They will make you talk to the stakeholders in the team, you can talk to your hiring manager. So when I joined OpenText, so I met the engineering team, I met my technical reporting manager. So first question what I asked was like, what is your roadmap? What problem you are going to solve? So, and it helped us in ease of that conversation, and that my hiring manager or the reporting manager start giving me some nuggets. Obviously, they can't give you that exact roadmap because that is something confidential and you are still not on board. But whatever is possible to give, they can give you a high level view of that. Whatever is available in the public domain, you can either go through their website where they have the newsletters or the blogs about the product. You can read through them, but the real inputs coming from the reporting manager, and those are really helpful. So I got to know, like, they are working in the connected supply chain, they have some problems, this kind of problems they are trying to solve. So what I did after that, I went back to my drawing board. I started diving deep into each of these in the pre-joining period itself. How it helped me, like, when I got onboarded, I had pretty much good idea of that domain itself. So when I talked to the tech team there, I got that what kind of stack they have from the tech perspective, and if I have to be successful, what I need to learn. So not exactly diving deep into each component because you don't know the high-level design or the building blocks for that product. But at very high level, you can try to learn from the technology perspective as well, that what they are building, how they are building. So, and I have seen that, the stakeholders are very, very interested. They're interested to talk about all these things, so that, once a new guy is coming in, he or she can help them quickly rather than waiting for a period of, let's say, 3 months and then start contributing to the product. So that was more on the pre-joining period and how you can utilize that period. Let's say if the company didn't have that policy where they are calling you or they're making you talk to the hiring managers, so you can always reach out to the recruiter and get connected with a hiring manager, maybe through the LinkedIn, and set up a call with him. That happened with me in case of Amazon. I did that, and a hiring manager reached out. I got to know that what is his roadmap, what he's expecting out of me. I started reading about the financial concepts. Though I did everything in my MBA, but since I was not in hands-on with all these concepts for 5 years, 4 years time, so it was an opportunity for me to refresh all these concepts before joining Amazon. So that was more pre-joining. Then in the today's world, we are placed virtually because of the pandemic. So your joinings will be mostly the virtual. You don't get to meet anyone. So those are the challenges I have faced during my Amazon journey in this beginning. So what will you do once you get started? You will get the machine to work on. So first thing is setting up the right tools for yourself. Depending on the organization, for product roadmap, there are multiple tools that different companies use: Trello, Excel, Jira, some examples. There might be some company proprietary tools as well they are using internally. Similarly, for the project management tools are there: Jira, Asana. In Amazon, we use SIM and Asana both. For mockups, Balsamiq is a mostly used tool to make mockups. Then you have Sketch, InVision, and Adobe. Similarly, for the reporting, many companies use Excel-based reporting, some Word doc, or maybe some other tool. So first you go and talk to your hiring manager, set up all the tools required in that role, talk to your team and get those things fixed quickly. In most of the organizations, hiring managers, they have a launch plan. They will give you a list of trainings need to be done. So trainings are two kinds of. One is the mandatory training, that's security, cultural, diversity. Those are mandatory or information security. Those are more from the organization point of view. There might be something what manager wants you to learn, maybe about, let's say, the product management or the stakeholder management, prioritization. So some companies, they have their internal training portals. Some have collaboration with the LinkedIn or Udemy. So you get that that login password for yourself and start learning during your launch plan. Once you have done that onboarding period, the 1 week time, then you get into that phase of learning. Obviously, you have started learning in the phase 1 itself, but here in this is, I would say that, more focused part where you are going to define success for yourself. So first thing is you set up a one-on-one with your manager, understand about the role and expectations. That's really important here. As I talked about, this product manager as a role is pretty wide, and every organization has different expectations. So when you're joining a new company or you are joining in a different team inside your organization, first thing is you have to understand the role and the expectation. What is the success going to be for you in that role? Like, how your success will be measured, what all you need to do, what are the roles, responsibilities, how you will be interacting with the stakeholders. So when I say the stakeholders, it's like who owns what actually. In some companies, like you have a business team, then you have technical program managers helping the product managers, then they have the tech team. In some organizations, there is no concept of technical program managers. They have product owners. They play pretty similar role, but again, not same. Some organizations, they don't have technical program manager at all. So who will be owning what, like the scrum part or sprint part or the grooming sessions, who will be leading? So those all things you need to first understand from your manager. Then you create a transitional plan for that. Like, you're coming from outside from the day one, you can't start owning everything. So to get into that, phase where you start contributing, so you create a transition plan, communicate it to your manager, communicate to your stakeholders as well. So there is a concept of a net contributor. So when you join any new company, you are deaf to the company because you are not going to contribute from the day one. And in the mid-level manager roles, it's like 6 months time when someone start contributing. So to become a net contributor from a liability part, there is a transition plan, and it 30 days, this 90 days is something that sets up the momentum for that net contributor role. And that's why it's become important, because once you start contributing, you start adding value to the team. Till the time you are just a part of team and nothing else for anyone in the world, because whatever you are learning, that is for yourself. No one is bothered that you have learned the right way or the wrong way. Till that time you are making decisions. When you make decisions, if there are gaps and the decisions are not correct, you will be held responsible, and you will realize that you didn't learn some concepts or some roadmap part or something about the product that you could have done better during the learning phase. So once you have that understanding about the role, setup, expectations, skill, your responsibilities are clear to you, you go and you start learning about the product. How will you do that? You do the research of the product. You go and talk to your manager. He might have an idea. If he didn't have a complete end-to-end understanding of the product, he may, redirect you to the something that is important. That function maybe within the product management, like your peers, maybe the engineering teams, some architect, they can help with some documentation around that, and they can help you build that knowledge quickly. You need to understand the key stakeholders from manager, because again, as I said, that role is pretty flexible as a product manager. So who all you will be interacting with, something you need to identify with your hiring manager. Then you understand the product maturity. So product maturity is like, this is an ANSOP metric that gives you that it's an existing product in an existing market, it's an existing product that you are taking it to the new market, it's a new product you are launching in an existing market, or it's a completely new product that is going to be launched in the new market. So giving some examples, like Amazon started with Amazon Dot in India, like that B2C business. Later on, they expanded their portfolio of products by adding Amazon Prime. So Prime is a product for Amazon, and it started with the 2-day delivery. Then they started adding the video content. Then they started adding the audio content. So you have an existing market. You are building some new products. Let's say you have built a product, Amazon Prime, and that was in US. So that was an existing product. When you took it to the India, it became a different thing. Like you are expanding a market for that existing product. So that way you would come to know that what exactly is your role, because a product in a different maturity cycle will be having different kind of challenges, and you have to do different things to make that product successful. Like in the slide, I have given some bullet points. When you are in an existing product, existing market, your focus is selling more units of that product. Like in case of Amazon Prime, you want to get more users onboarded to your product. You do you want to scale up ultimately. Existing product, expanding market, like you want to expand, you localize, let's say for the Bangladesh or the Sri Lanka or China, and increase the market base. Like ultimately, see, everything rolls down to that: what is the customer base, what is the revenue you are getting. Those are the end matrices for a success of a product, but these are important steps to reach at that level. So learning is learning about the role, stakeholders. When you have done that, so you go and start setting up the one-on-one with your critical important stakeholders. So what are the typical stakeholders for a product manager? Are like business or users or the customers. I have bucketized all three into one is for a reason. Like In a B2C products like Amazon.in, you have the users and users, how they interact with your website, what kind of purchases they are making. So you can get those insights through the website itself. Then you have a business as well, like in some organization, the B2B products are there. So sales team or the solution consultants might be your first customer. The reason is these are the guys who are interacting with the end customer day in, day out. They understand the customer well, and you may or may not have direct reach to the end customers. So sales and solution consultants are going to help you build that understanding with your end customers. So that is one. Second is your product marketing team. So I talked about the role where you fix up a go-to-market strategy. So product marketing team is to create a buzz in the market. Whatever you are planning to launch or you have launched, is that communication reach to the right stakeholders or not? So they take help from the product managers in creating the contents, white papers, blogs. What they do, they will go and attend different kind of events in the industry. They will, publish newsletters so that the end customers are getting that messaging about your product. Then you have the product team for the cross product collaboration. So there might be multiple products working in your team. There might be the product managers. They have adjacent product. So they are again a stakeholder to you, so that you all are aligned from the long-term vision. Last and important stakeholder is the engineering. So in engineering, because you have to work day in, day out with these guys, and no one reports to you here. So typical structure is either engineering manager or the software development manager that is responsible for the delivery. But for end customer, you are the first line of contact. Is anything is not delivered, you will be held responsible from the strategy perspective. So other than that, you have the technical program manager, principal engineer, or senior development engineer, software architect from the engineering, where you will be interacting day in, day out with these guys. So when you are going to set up those meetings, so focus would be on your goals. Like first goal is you need to understand who knows what works in the business. And you need to showcase that curiosity to learn. You are positive about the project. You are always curious to learn new things about the product, or you want to improve your knowledge. So that mindset need to be shown most of the time. Otherwise, what will happen if you don't show that interest? No one is going to entertain you for those requests where you want to schedule the meeting. You also need to understand who makes the decision in each org. So that is important when you get into that reputation building phase, like engineering decisions. So who owns that OEE part, tech depth, who owns that, how they drive that part. So all these things you need to understand, like from the business side, who are the key decision makers, from the engineering, who are the key decision makers, how they work, what is the philosophy around that. So it's very important to understand individuals at their level, because individuals think differently, and if your synergy or your energy level is not matching, there might be some gaps where you will see the hindrance coming in at a later point of time. Getting into the second phase is building relationship and reputation. See, this product manager role itself is like more of a stakeholder management. Obviously, you write PRD, you do the road mapping, you do the solutioning, but to get your job done, you have to do day in, day out of stakeholder management. And as per my experience, what I have seen is like, these things like any kind of influence don't work if you don't have a right rapport with anyone. So that's why I break the second phase into the building relationships and the reputation with the team. So reputation will come when you are curious, you are positive about it. This is going to help in the longer run. If you are like not in a good terms with engineering or the business, it will be like fighting every front. And as a product manager, you can't afford to do that. Like you have, just think of an example, like as India as a country, and you have one front, Pakistan, where you have war going on. You have another front, China, you have a war going on. Then you have Bangladesh, you have a war going on. Can you afford to do anything from the development part if you have the war going on at every front? Similarly, for a product manager, you have business, you have a tech team, and you have product marketing and other stakeholders. If you are not in a good relationship with those guys, if you don't have a good rapport with them, you will see that a fight going on, because business will try to pull your roadmap one way, like they try to influence that this is something important. You have your vision for your product that is like 3 year or 1 year, and the feature what they are demanding right now might be coming, let's say the 2 quarters from now, but they will try to pull you. No, I want now. I have a business statistic. Tech has their own plans, so they want to, let's say, want to build in Q4. They have their own priorities, not just because of the feature. Let's say there's some attrition, there are some other challenges at their part. So if you are not having a right kind of relationship, you will not be able to influence the persons. Obviously, some of you might come and challenge that I will go with the data. Data is good, but everyone in this setup or in any organization, they have their own regions to do things or to not to do things. And when you are in this fight mode, no one cares about the data. They will try to put up their own logic and they will, escalate it to the leadership team. And you are like standing there and then trying to justify your actions. So better to avoid those situations, better to be in a better relationship with the stakeholders and build on that rapport first. One more thing what I want to point out. So when you join an organization and you are trying to learn about the product, don't try to oversmart anyone in the organization. And the reason is you are the newest in the team. You know least about the product. So for an example, let's say if I have some architect or some senior SD in my team and he's working for 6 years, that guy knows in and out of the product from the tech part. He also understands what was the vision when they started. And if you go and you start teaching the roadmap to that person, he will be completely pissed off. He or she will be completely pissed off. So you have to avoid those things, at least in the beginning when you are learning. Then you will see that hostile environment. So just avoid that for a time being, till the time you don't have the complete end-to-end understanding of your product. Second point is that start contributing to the strategic planning meetings. It's like you go and you talk to your stakeholders, you get some insights from them. So go and make some small steps there, like try to learn, try to question, and the question not in a way that is like questioning the decision, understanding that why that decision is made actually, not questioning that why you are doing it. Try to learn about the logic behind that, why it was in the roadmap itself first, what is the long vision for that, why they want to build it now only. So start interacting in that way and try to get insights about that so that you build a right mindset around the product. You have the right strategy. You are able to understand the long-term vision of the product as well. And in the near-term deliverables, start writing the user stories, backlog grooming, go participate, give your inputs, and just those are kuti steps, those small steps you take so that you start building the reputation. Why it's important to contribute here is that if you just keep learning for 3 months, you will be treated as a burden in the team because this guy is coming to meetings and not speaking anything, not asking any questions, like no value addition. So your value addition can't be, I would say, not transforming one, but small contributions where you start asking the questions is also a contribution from a product manager point of view. And in parallel, you keep learning about your product, you keep doing your research, start identifying the right customers, you try to build this empathy in this phase. As a product manager, one important thing is you should not bother about the solution. You always focus on the problem. Is this a right problem? Is this a problem or not? That is first. Second, is this a right problem? What impact it's making to the customer? How customer is getting impacted because of this? And you work from the problem, then think of solution. Because if you look at the engineering, their focus is always building a solution. It's not that it's wrong or right. It's about their mindset because they are tuned for that. Their job is to make a solution. But is it the right solution or the right problem? That is something as a product manager, you have to understand. You have to first validate before getting into the solution phase. So to understand any problem, understanding customer is pretty important. You understand your customer, understand customer pain points, create a user journey for that, and then build a right solution around that. So from first 30 days where you are learning about the next 30 days is building the reputation, understanding the product, building those relationships, and those are going to help you in the longer run. Third phase is get your hands dirty, start executing. So one thing is you have to be reliable by now. So whatever you have learned so far, whatever you have done is something you have already created as some kind of a repo. Your repo would always be in a direction like, if someone is coming to you with any problem statement, you should be able to provide a solution. if let's say one developer is having some doubt by building a UI regarding some button, etc., you should be able to give a right direction. And what may happen that you may or may not have the right solution at that point of time. So you can take your time, but it should be your reputation that no one is just like, you are not reachable to anyone in the team because there are not the right synergies, and they feel like if I go to this person, he will not have a right solution. So understanding the product, building those repos are very important when you reach into this stage, so that you have solution to the most of your problems. Then you set the goals for your product, like you start owning the product roadmap, the long-term strategy, the priorities. You work on defining, let's say, in Amazon term, we say let's OP2 or OP1, you start contributing to them. You think of some big initiatives now. Since you have built already some good understanding about your product by now, so you can think of some, let's say, the big ideas, like how you can transform, take those ideas to your stakeholders, start validating those ideas. Always keep your tech involved. The reason is whatever you are thinking, is that technically feasible to build or not? Those are the only guys who can confirm or the validate. But don't constrain yourself because of immediate solution. It may be like, you have some big idea and not doable at this point of time, but in the longer run it's possible. So don't park your ideas because of that, but having your tech involved is always good. What has worked for me. So while building the relationships, I talked about, involving the different stakeholders. So one thing that also helps is like, I always I set up my one-on-ones with all the engineers, not just with the key stakeholders. Like when we were working physically, so just go, to any engineer, ask for a coffee break or something, go and try to understand if they have any inputs for the product, if they have any inputs for the process, how they see the things evolving. Because many a times what happens, some of the smart developers, they keep reading about the competitors, not just because they want to understand the product, maybe they might be looking for the job change also, right? And you can leverage on anything or everything that's coming in your way. So your idea is to get those inputs where that guy can contribute to. So take their feedback, take their inputs about the product, the process, and those informal meetings really helps. Maybe to build reputation, what we used to do as a product manager, we used to have the monthly outing for the drinks also. So that is something what you can always do if you drink. And many of my colleagues, those who were not drinking also, they used to join, because those informal discussions around drink or coffee or for some guy, the sutta works well. Because when you are in that formal setup and sitting in a meeting room, many of them don't want to open their mouth. They have their own reservations. Maybe they are not comfortable talking in that environment. Many times they feel like that environment is not conducive also. So when you are building the reputations and the relationships, just think of the informal channels, what you can create for the communication with your stakeholders. So coming back to the execution part, so we talked about like, criteria, so big initiative. So big initiative can be your idea, can be idea of tech team, can be ideas coming in from multiple stakeholders, but you create a plan around that big idea and pitch it to the right stakeholders, management for funding. For that, you may need to do some additional work, and that is your job day in, day out, to understand those things, make the right steps forward. Then you set up the criteria for measurement of your success. Like, let's say I'm building a product and adoption might be a success criteria for me today. In some cases, it might be the feature use, is how many users are using that feature. It might be the revenue also. So what is going to be the success criteria for your product? Then in first 90 days, if possible, go and ship your first feature. That is something awesome. It feels so good if you're writing those launch emails or sending the communication to external stakeholders. So like, my previous company, those release notes, sending out to external customers that we have built this new feature. It's always a good feeling for a product manager. So see if it's possible to do in first 90 days. If not, it may take 120 days or more also, depending on the kind of product you are building and what are your release timelines. So that is something I would say kind of milestone or a big success for any product manager in the industry. Then we talked about the one-on-one the stakeholders. Initially, we talked about building the reputations. So first 3 months after having a discussion, set up a cadence with stakeholders, like you may have weekly meetings with some of the stakeholders. For some of the stakeholders, it may be fortnightly or monthly. Set up a meeting with your skip level, setting up a meeting with maybe your director, so that they know you, they know what you are doing. And I would say this, use this 90 days window as promoting yourself. Talk about yourself. And after, let's say, the 60 days you are in the organization, once you are setting up those meetings, you should be able to pitch that this guy is reliable, this guy has some reputation, this guy is keeping the words. So you have to show that reliability, show the growth potential. Like, you have a vision for your product, you want to build something that is going to help the end customer XYZ ways. It's going to maybe add the revenue to the your organization. So show that growth potential, work on that long-term vision, and create a buzz around you. Everyone should know in your organization by now that there is a new product manager that has come up in the team and he's awesome. So that helps. And I'm not putting a window of 90 days. It may be 100 or 110 days also. But the idea is to use this initial period so that you kind of create a reputation for yourself. And obviously, it's not just creating a fuss around you. It's also about the delivering as well, right? And it would be great that as quickly as you reach that break-even point, I was talking about that mid-level managers, it's like close to 6 months. But if you can do it in first 90 days or 110 days, that's going to be awesome. So moving last page. So one more thing what I want to add here is, like, when you get into the execution phase, there are two more things. Those are important. One is manage your energy well. Don't overcommit. And once you have committed, then follow Salman Khan. Like one dialogue, like ek baar commitment kar liya to kar liya. Otherwise, what's going to happen? No one is going to trust you because you commit and you go overboard on your words. Like, it's not possible now. And let's say there might be chances where you are failing to deliver on time. Then make the communication at right point of time. Don't wait for the last day that this feature will not be delivered tomorrow because of XYZ reason. So keep your stakeholders involved with the communication so that they don't see any, I would say, I'm just not getting the right word, like surprises, right? So surprise is the right word. Like, they are not surprised at any point of time that why this feature is not coming today or it's not coming tomorrow. If you see even a minor possibility of getting things spilled over or not meeting the timelines, keep your stakeholder communicated on those things. That will, and don't just go with that communication. You should have a plan. When I say plan, it's like, this is feature, let's say, is due on 15th of June and it's not possible. Then what is your target? What is your plan around that? When are you going to release? So close that communication loop and keep the stakeholders communicated about that. So from the takeaways, I talked about, like, the learning. So first 30 days, focus on learning, building next 30 days reputation, relationships, research about your product, then show growth potential and manage your energies. See, promoting, I talked about, promote yourself, but it's not a one-day job. It's like every day you have to do. Every day you have to prove, actually. And after some point of time, you will see that everyone in the organization, have a good rapport. You have a good rapport with everyone, and then everyone trusts you for that. Like, if Vipin has committed this, or if, then he will be able to deliver it. If he's saying something this way, the logical way, he is having some idea or some thought process behind that. Let's try to understand that rather than arguing on his comment. So they will try to understand your logic, why you are saying so, why you are talking about all these things. So that is really, really a situation that every product manager want to be in. And obviously you can reach there if you use the right, set of right way. If you use the first 90 days, you can obviously reach there. And this is what has worked for me. Some of the things, obviously, I have also learning in the process, and maybe I would say more of inspirations, like I could have done that way and it would have been better for me. So not everything in this slide is something, what I have done, but there are learnings as well, like whatever the gaps I see, whatever I could have done in the first 90 days and I didn't do at that point of time. So that is something is coming from my learnings. Last slide is, so you guys must have, known to many PM books, like you have the Lean Startup, you have the Hooked, you have many books around that, the Hard Things, About Hard Things, 0 to 1, many books. But these two books, are beyond the PM books, what I suggest, every budding PM to read actually. First one is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very small book. It has very small chapters, but it helps you managing different stakeholders, different kind of people. And second one is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I got this book as a part of my MBA and I keep reading it. This helps you declutter about your biases while making critical decisions. Because as a person, we have our own biases in every decisions. We start judging people. We start creating a persona around that this person is always going to behave that way without trying to understand his logic or her logic. So this book helps you, demystifying those clusters or those, images actually. So that has really helped me in many ways. And I would suggest to read these two books for sure if you're getting into a PM role, into new organization or existing organization. Yeah. So we are open for Q&A now.
So while we wait, I read a very interesting comment from someone. It was about like data versus ego and influencing. I thought it'll be good to talk a bit more about that. Just because you cannot just undermine the data while yes, like people are centric part of what you're doing, so you have to take along the people that you're working with. So I thought it'll be good to have your perspective on it, Vipin.
Yeah, sure. I think it's an important question, right? And I do agree that alone relationship is not going to work. Data is very important, and data-driven decisions are equally important, right? But what I wanted to say that if you are in that fighting mode all the time, people will start ignoring your data also. They will start questioning your hypothesis behind that. Like every data is not perfect data, right? If you're taking the customer insights, how customer is navigating, you go and you saw those matrices. But engine can always question that you have not captured the right matrices. Why didn't you capture X matrix? Why you went with the Y? So what I mean to say is, yes, data is important, but if you don't have that right relationship, everyone can come into the picture and can try to question your data points. Because there are always gaps. We work on hypotheses. We have certain assumptions. And those assumptions are something very important. We try to demystify those assumptions using data. But again, it's a kind of a loose end for you. So this is what I mean to say. I am not saying that data is not important. What I'm saying is, if you have a right rapport with the team, then they will help or support you in getting the right data also. They will suggest you the matrices also. But if you're fighting with them, they will try to kind of avoid you for that. We can't hear you, Sambhavi. Sorry.
Yeah, I said I absolutely agree, and I see some questions pouring in. So Vipin, feel free to take it from the chat box.
Okay, just give me a second. I think there are a lot of comments. I need to just scroll up.
Maybe we can start from the last one and go up.
Sure. Can a fresher know Pravak after B school get into product management? Yes. Starting points like for a fresher, one thing is if you can get into internship from the college, that is awesome. If you can't, then you can try to get into any startup, and they love hiring freshers because freshers bring a new energy to the team. Maybe you can join as a APM or business analyst in any organization, and you can move into a full-fledged product manager at a later point of time. Shashank, the last question. So I want to be a PM after MBA, but I'm not from tech. If you know about the Cred, so Cred founder Kunal Sai, he's not a tech guy and he owns the company. So that is, I would say, tech is not mandatory in many companies. At least in the tech company, obviously they expect you to do the tech part, but in companies where the business is focused, you have the business program manager, so you can fit in. Okay, what things should we keep in mind during MBA? I focused on marketing strategy and anything that's related to product management. So you can try to identify those subjects. Those are going to help you build understanding around product management as a domain. Product discovery and hypothesis-driven experiment. Antrix, this can be a separate topic. Like product discovery phase itself is big, and then second portion of that hypothesis-driven experiment. So that I think it will take more time that can't be covered in the Q&A. So, okay, because see, in the product discovery, you have, I talked about very briefly on your primary research, secondary research, your problem validation, identification of problem. Then you go and, start validating those problem statement with your customers. So that may be the data driven, maybe, so maybe some assumptions based on that you started. So that is a complete, I would say, that vast topic to discuss. Can I phrase that? I think I answered Manjari, your question. Being senior test engineer, good to switch role. See what happens when you're a test engineer or in a development engineer kind of a role. First thing is to try within your organization, and that you can do without MBA also. The reason is you have a good understanding about your product. You have to build some business understanding. So tech is fine. As a test engineer, I think I would say that test engineers are better placed than the development engineers, because when they test the product, they know in and out about the product. Even because developers are something, you work on one feature and you are done. So maybe you can build some understanding about the business and can try to get into your organization. That would be the easiest path. If not, then you may have to think of maybe getting into some course or maybe going for MBA. But MBA, I would say, is not a ladder for a product management role as such. Undergraduate student of second year, quite interested in a role path, some resources. Somehow we can share for some resources for sure. And if you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can help Nikhil. What are the skills I have as a project manager can be? So see, project manager has many skills. Those are transferable to product manager role, like stakeholder management or maybe different kind of matrices what you measure. So what you need to do is just create an Excel sheet and look at very high level skills required in a product manager role. Then you try to map with your current experience and the gaps you try to fill through maybe interacting with the product managers or maybe learn through some courses. That can be a path to fill those gaps. Difference between a product manager and product owner. Sultan, this question is again, it depends. In some company, the product owners are product managers. In some company, product managers and product owners are two separate roles. So product owner role and technical program manager's role are pretty same. Like you have created a HLD or with tech team. Now the product owners, they own creating a day-to-day task from the user stories, running the scrums, getting those sprint duns are typically owned by product owner. So product owner is more a tactical role and product manager is more on the strategic side of the world. How is it easy to work as a PM for internal product? It has its own challenges. Manju, I have worked in both the sides. Like previously, I had a product that was for some customer outside OpenText. Now in Amazon, I work on a product that is internal. So there's nothing comes easy. It depends on the kind of complexity of product you are building. Like the complexity is very, very important. That is one. And secondly, your customer base is low and whatever the inputs you are getting, it's very limited one. And you have to create a vision around that. So sometimes what we do, we made some internal products, and then later on, if we see a value, we try to make it public as well. So there are many of such products as well, even in Amazon. I went to a PM after my MBA. Sasank, I answered your question. More books on product manager. I need to look at myself just a second. So I have Lean Startup, the hard things about hard things, and Hooked, these, and then 0 to 1. These are some books what I read initially, and there are many more beyond that. If you want to understand more about the interview process, so Cracking the PM Interview, Decode and Conquer would be the book that can help you understanding the interview process. PM and senior PM. PM owns a specific feature set or a small part of product. Senior PM have more responsibilities. So I would say that wider horizon. Instance when you had a tough time convincing. I think, Siddharth, that is interview question, but we face this day in, day out about convincing the stakeholders. So as we talked about, data-driven decisions are obviously you can convince with your right repo. That is one. Like there are many instances, so difficult to give only one stance now. Okay, another important point is being able to explain changes in simple. Who are not very technical. Akshay, I don't know what you are trying to. It's a question. Okay, or is that suggestion? I don't know. I think it looks to suggestion to me. Okay. Thanks, Venkatesh. Yeah. Yeah, being marathoner helps me. You can say that. Very curious. Okay. There's many questions, Sambhavi. So
Yeah. So I think what we can do is like, if there are any more questions, you can leverage our LinkedIn page. If there are any questions for about Mentor Me Good, you can reach us at hello@mentormegood.com. And we are already past the time. So thank you everyone for joining. It's great to see so many passionate people prioritizing their career. And yeah, and also a disclaimer: we are not encouraging use of tobacco and smoking. Okay,
yeah,
jokes apart.
yeah,
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, see you with more sessions soon.
yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. A pleasure
Yeah,
talking to you. Thanks. Bye.
yeah. Thank you, Vipin, again.